All right, so here it is. We've been talking about doing this for a while. New Flash #1 by Spurrier and Mike Deodato Jr. I got my buddy Jeremy, ComicJerm on Instagram. Make sure to give him a follow.
Hey,
Um,
everybody.
but yeah, new #1, man. How you feeling about this issue?
Uh, I don't think it was any like surprise that I was like not really looking forward to this when they announced the relaunch, but I think after reading it, I feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I saw the creative team. I like Mike Deodato Jr. I don't know if you read any of the Bendis Avengers and some of the Hickman stuff. I think he drew some
Yeah.
of the Hickman.
Yeah,
Um,
I just like reread Hickman's in like order for the first time.
oh,
But
really?
I have
Okay.
read bits and pieces of Bendis's Avengers. His
Yeah.
art's okay. Not my favorite.
Yeah. I I don't know. I like the art. It definitely kind of helps kind of give like this kind of horror
Yeah.
vibe, if that's what you want to call it. But really I'm just kind of like, Cy Spurrier. I mean, I'm not saying Cy Spurrier's bad writer or anything. He's been doing great stuff with his recent X-Men books, but like I always kind of like
Mhm.
saw him as like that guy that would write like the side X books that like you wouldn't really give them essential reading. Like you wouldn't put it
Mhm.
on, like I wouldn't put a lot of the stuff like on an X-Men reading order. It's just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, if you want to, he's kind of like a Grant Morrison, where there's a lot of crazy sci-fi concepts being told, but
Yeah.
like with Morrison, it's like it's going to go somewhere. A lot of times with Cy Spurrier, I'm like, where is this going? And then
Have you read any of his indie stuff?
no, I haven't actually.
He he did he's done a couple of indie books that I've read, both with Mateo Bergaris on art. They're pretty good. But yeah, he seems like he's very like I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, like eccentric, I guess, in that way.
Yeah,
And like when speaking with Grant Morrison, like in the way that he tells stories, like it's very like abstract and weird, and it's it takes a while to get to the point, I think.
yeah.
Not that it's
I
bad. I haven't really never like hated anything he's written that I've read. So
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of worry, like, because my first reaction to, this creative team was this is going to be like the Morrison Green Lantern of Flash, where I don't
good
think
point.
people are going to give it like a chance. I
Hmm.
mean, Flash is one of my favorite characters. I know he's one of your favorite
Yeah.
characters, so I don't see myself dropping this, but like I'm just hoping people give it a chance because I think like this property is kind of in an odd spot right now where, we just got the Flash movie that didn't do
Right.
well. I mean, the Flash TV show kind of whimpered out a little bit. It had, it still had its fans. But I just feel I this is going to be the first time in a while where I feel like I could see Flash kind of dipping down and not being like in that top five most pulled for most
Yeah.
shops. I don't know. I mean, you're working at a shop, so like, how is this book selling?
It's funny because like before I started working there, Flash was like not selling at all.
Really?
Like I think it was 1 minute war is kind of like, and I was telling like everybody about it. I was like, hey man, like Flash has been great. Like this is like a good like jumping on arc. Like this is gonna be really fun. Like just check it out. So I don't know if it was just word of mouth, but like this series has gotten a lot, like a fair amount of people to pull it off the first issue. So, and I don't know if that has anything to do with Dawn of DC and a lot of people wanting to just try out these new #1s, but there seems to be some interest. I know that, I mean, just from what I've read and what I've heard from in the shop, it is being compared to like Immortal Hulk. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't
We'll
know.
see what
I
happens.
feel in my experience, like whenever something's compared to an
Yeah.
acclaimed title, it's kind of like how's it going to live up to that? I mean,
Right.
I think Flash is a character that like he's at its best where it's a little more grounded, and this seems like it's going to be big concepts.
Right.
Going into this, I was the most intrigued with the what's going on with Linda Park because like or Linda West, whatever you want to call her, just Linda, um, because it seems like where Jeremy Adams' run left off, they're in a good spot, and this kind of seems
Mhm.
like all right, we're gonna get a lot of tension between Wally and Linda, where and
Right.
I liked how this issue it didn't ignore the stuff that Jeremy Adams did. Um, that was my
Yeah.
biggest one of my biggest worries. Going back to a number one, is it just going to ignore because we've as you know the last couple of years the Flash family it's kind of been ignored and Jeremy Adams
Yeah.
run embraced the Flash family, so it's kind of like are we gonna we just got that back or are we just gonna tear it down all over again?
Right. I did like the first opening, like the few opening pages with Bart and Max. So like seeing them was like, okay, like I think we're off on the right foot. Like we're not really like excluding anybody yet. We're just like laying the groundwork, but we're still getting to see like some of the Flash family.
Yeah, I I don't know. I rereading the issue because I literally
Mhm.
just reread it before we started recording. It feels kind of like odd how that's how it opens and then they're not in it again for the rest of the issue. We'll
Right.
see how this arc plays out, but I'm just kind of like,
I it kind of seems like he just went all out on this first issue and was like, well, here's everything. Like, here's the stuff with Bart and Max. Here's the stuff with the twins. Here's the relationship stuff between Wally and Linda. Here's Grodd. Here's all of these other things happening. Like, it just seems that's why it feels dense, I think, because it's just like all of the plot threads that he's just putting them out there
yeah,
rather than like
um,
withholding some stuff for later issues.
right. I mean, it was a I don't remember how many pages this was, but it was a long read. It was kind of like wow.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
30, well, like readable pages. I think it was like
right.
30 something
Yeah.
because every other
Um,
page is an ad now.
definitely felt like a monthly book where you're kind of
Yeah.
getting your reading material. Compared to like when it
Mhm.
was bi-monthly, I feel like you could read that in like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, they were. I think all of Adams was a pretty easy read, like
yeah.
every issue.
No, like we never really talked about it, but like how did you feel about Adam's run? Like a lot of people kind of were asking for like a little more of like a darker, serious, but like for me, the Flash has always been like a lighthearted character. It doesn't need to be that dark. Shouldn't be that
Right, like
dark.
for
So
me, it always felt like that, like next like step after John's run, like because it didn't really, I don't know, it just felt like a natural progression for Wally to go like he's got the twins, he's got his family back, everything is like going well, and then you have you know Barry missing. Like I don't know. I could talk about that run all day. I think it's great.
oh yeah,
And
I enjoyed it.
it's all the family stuff in there too. Like it it felt like it was more than just like a comic book series. It felt like he was actually like telling like stories he wanted to tell. It felt like alive. It felt like he was like putting some of himself into the book, which I know is like taboo, but like he wrote his experiences into the book very well, I think, and that's what I appreciated most about it.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. Um, but this
And being a
this
dad is
run,
different, man.
oh,
So it
yeah,
felt different.
totally, totally. I'm sure. But yeah, this run it feels different, but I'm glad that it
Yeah.
kind of continues the stuff that we just got.
Yeah, because like you were saying earlier, like with the little bit of the tension in their relationship right now, like in the 800 story, I I didn't like the dialogue between them. It just felt like out of character, I guess. But then like when this issue happened, like just their conversation between how like she felt like she was never a part of that world, but then she was when she was pregnant, and then now that she's not, she feels like she's missing out. Like that feels more real than the conversation that we got in the 800 story. So I am feeling better about like that
Yeah,
aspect, even though I don't want them to break up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just like, I like simpler, like I don't want to say simple, but like simple yet complex stories, more human stories. And I
Yeah,
like when those kind of stories are intertwined in, these comics about superheroes, because it shouldn't all just
right,
be superhero stuff. It should be more relatable. It should be more human.
right,
And to be honest, I mean, the Linda stuff, believe it or not, that's the stuff I kind of was the most interested in this, because it has that weight. And
right.
I mean, it it just feels like, okay, wow, that kind of makes a lot of sense. Like, because she had those powers all throughout the pregnancy, and then all of a sudden they're gone, and
Right.
now she has to go back, and everyone else around her has super speed. So it's kind of, how does that play out? How does that, how would that affect a normal person? So
Right. Exactly.
um,
Like it's like it almost is like a real problem that somebody would have, you know.
yeah, yeah, totally. But
What do you
besides
think
that,
about the twins?
the twins.
Yeah, like what they're doing. Interesting.
um Yeah, it's interesting. I'm kind of, I feel like with Jeremy Adams, like he kind of set the bar with like how
Yeah.
the twins should be and how they interact. So I'm kind of like a little curious to see how much Spurrier actually like dives into that. I'm
Because
pretty sure
it
he's a
almost
father
felt
too.
aged up too. Like, is
Yeah,
that just
yeah,
me?
I could see that. That there was that one part where we talked about briefly before we started recording. That like one page of Jai where he's like in that room, in which like, weren't they in like a school? Like it just looked so, it looked weird to me. And I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I
And
feel like
what
there. What do you think?
I said like that like just that sequence where she's like looking for him and when she finds him and he's like he's acting weird, man.
Yeah,
I don't know
I,
what
I
to make of
definitely
it.
like. I feel like this issue is definitely like, now that I'm thinking about it, like more. It's there's a lot of stuff in this.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff like we probably, we won't figure out what's going to be, the outcome for
Right.
a while. Um, but also like, the mystery man that's with Mr. Terrific, like what's that all about? And like, I think it's really weird how like, Mr. Terrific's like, Mr. Terrific knows stuff that, he can't tell Wally about, and then Wally's
Yeah.
having these fluctuations, and they relate.
I,
And I think it's kind of
I
cool,
don't
like they,
I don't know if you noticed this in so when Wally goes to talk to Mr. Terrific, like and it's literally just a panel. He's wearing like a regular brown suit, and then the next he's wearing his Mr. Terrific suit.
yeah, I saw that.
And then it goes for a couple pages, and as soon as Wally leaves and that conversation is finished, or he's getting ready to leave, he's dressed back in his brown suit. So I don't know
Huh.
if it's like an error or if it is a reality slip and Wally's just not aware of it.
Oh, that's weird.
I
I
I, I didn't notice the second like cost like the outfit change until just yesterday.
Huh. Yeah, I noticed it like initially because I saw, gradually, like, when Wally first comes in the room, like
Mhm.
he's got the brown suit, and then I saw like he has the mask, and then he's got the costume, but I didn't see it go back. That's weird. I wonder like if that's going to be like kind of a common thing where like things will kind of shift.
Yeah,
Um,
like it's kind of like left for the reader to like if you're actually paying attention to the panels, it's something you'll see.
yeah. Did you notice that Wally, like he looks like Chris Evans in this issue? Like that
I
was a kind of a weird choice.
I'm looking at that panel like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that was so funny. I saw that and I was like, hold on a second.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, I
What?
remember like a couple years ago, there was these, fan casts, and a lot of people were saying like, oh, make Chris Evans Wally, and I'm like, all right. I wonder if
Yeah.
like, Spurrier saw that online and was like, oh, I'm gonna take some stuff from
My
that.
yeah, like draw them like that. What do you think of Grodd?
It was weird. It didn't really like it didn't really feel like Grodd, and I mean, I don't know what was up with all that, the armor that was on him.
Yeah,
And
it I don't know, man. It kind of looks like the tech that Mirror Master was using in the 800 story, but it's still too early to tell, you know?
Yeah. And like he had that weird line about like a breakup or something. And like
Yeah,
now that I'm thinking about it, like maybe that's just like another a part of this weird, fluctuation reality kind of thing. Maybe it's I
yeah.
don't know, maybe it's like because then they go back into like a portal or something. I
Mhm.
don't know. There
Do
maybe
you think
it's
that do
like
you think there's like a lot of red herrings being like planted?
I mean, yeah, I think so. Now that I'm thinking about it, like it kind of makes sense. I just worry that it's going to be too complicated
Yeah,
because
and I had that thought too. Like if it's gonna be really like complex and it could get convoluted fast. And that's yeah, I agree. I could see it doing that.
yeah. Um we see two of the big fluctuations with the speed force.
Mhm.
And particularly at the end, there's a line where it's, a quote. It's like the uncoiled are coming, which I remember seeing something like a solicitation, about like the folding man. I don't know if they're
Yeah,
Spurrier is going to do like another take on that. I don't really know.
it's like issue like the third or fourth issue, I think, is he's on it.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
here. Yeah, the folding man. So we'll see what that's about. Maybe he's kind of doing his own take. Maybe he's going to try to make that character a little more significant than he has been in the past. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um,
I this blue streak or indigo streak, do you think that this is like part of a larger like thing, or it was just like a one-off?
I think it was a one-off, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, why do that? I don't know. Because when I first
Right.
saw that, I was like, are they're introducing a new speedster? Like, what are they doing here? But that way I kind of like how it's like, as soon as you think like, oh, this is going to be like a new character, new speedster, I like how he just gets like wrecked and he gets all,
Yeah.
you know,
And what's the deal with these bubbles that they're being put in?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
That
I mean, it was something with Grodd, but I'm kind of like, what? And it's weird because like when he was talking to Mr. Terrific about it, like they made it seem like those people are just still in bubbles and they're just, I mean,
yeah,
up in the air.
like floating away, I think is what he said at one point.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, all right, what's this about? I mean,
Like we're just gonna leave them in the bubbles.
yeah, I mean, it just there's a lot going on in this issue, and like,
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be one thing if this was a bi-weekly series, but like this, we gotta wait a whole month for this next issue,
yeah, yeah. I
which I'm kind of like, man, that's gonna be a lot to kind of remember. October 20.
yeah.
Oh, damn, that's a long time.
If
October
if
24th.
if most issues are like this and like the regard that it's gonna be just everything coming at you at once, it's gonna be a lot every month.
Yeah. And I mean,
I don't know.
Spurrier said in an interview, I can send it to you so you can, give it a listen later. But
Mm.
he kind of said that he wants this to be like, you don't need any prior knowledge of the Flash to like get
Yeah,
into this.
he said that on
I
Twitter too, I think.
I don't believe him, man. Like this.
Yeah, yeah, I 100% agree with you because like there's a lot in here that you should probably know some Flash history,
Yeah,
or there could be. I think later on.
yeah. Just to kind of wrap it up. What would you give this issue out of 10?
Um, I'm willing to give it a 7. I I liked it more than I thought it was. I was going to just based off like the short story in 800 because I was pissed, man, when Adams announced that he was leaving the book. You know,
Yeah,
so and not that I don't like Cy Spurrier, I didn't know if he was going to be a good fit for the title just based on like what I like in the Flash.
mm,
And then with Deodato, like I'm just his art's just okay for me. So like, and there's with how heavily shaded it is, it was kind of like I'm willing to put up with it, I guess. But there are some panels in here that are really cool. I I'll give it a 7. It was solid. There was a lot to it. There was a lot of moving parts, but I think it could be interesting if he plays his cards right.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, but I don't know. I'd give it. I'd probably say give it a 7. I'm hoping further issues. It's not going to be as dense as this one.
Yeah,
So I mean, I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm going to keep reading it, and I know but yeah, we'll see what happens next issue. But
I just
thanks
hope.
again,
I just
man.
hope. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I hope that he just gives it room to breathe in terms of like
Yeah,
using the whole cast of characters and like because it can be really easy I think to fall into like let's just tell as many of these like stories as we can and let's just pump it out and let's just like get these arcs out. But I feel like
yeah,
Adams did a really good job of like in between arcs there was a little bit of like filler stuff or like even in each issue there was a little bit of like it didn't feel like it moved too fast, but it also like had a really, really solid like expansion of what we know about the Flash and what we like.
yeah. But
So
yeah, I mean, the pacing with Adams was one of the best things about it. Just it felt like every plot thread, every arc had room to breathe, and it you'd get excited for the next month. Or I
yeah,
mean, I think towards the end that was like bi-weekly. I could be wrong.
yeah, it was all
Um,
1 minute whirlwind every 2 weeks, and then after
yeah.
until the end.
So I don't know. I mean, like I said, I give it a 7. We'll see what happens next. But thanks again for coming on, man. And I'm excited to,
Thanks for having me, man.
you know, for the next issue and talk about it more. And hopefully we get
Yep,
get JD on here.
that's right. Yeah, gotta get him on.